Welcome back to the podcast. I'm going to be doing a mini series on launching. Now, I did the other episode that was a little like teaser introduction, I guess, to launching, but I wanted to bring you a whole little mini series looking at launching because I think that there's a lot of ideas online about launching. There's a lot of things about launching online. And I just want to talk about this and give you some other ways of thinking about it because there are so many different things that you can do in terms of launching. It does not have to look like the traditional way of like open close cart launching and really what we normally see online. I want you to think outside the box. But there are things that I do want you to consider when you are thinking about launching. So we're going to talk about some of that, things that you can set up for your launch and consider and really look at when you're thinking about your launch goals, when you're thinking about reducing stress in your launch, making it easier, you know, making sure that you have the right offer, you have the right lead magnet, all of the good things. So we are going to get into that with part one today, and we're going to really talk about looking at your offer specifically. And this series is going to be really setting up your launch for recurring 5K revenue. Now, you can really set any goal that you want. It's not just 5K. That's the number that I'm throwing out there for you, but you can insert whatever number you want. It doesn't have to be 5K. It can be whatever your goal is. But when you have your goal in mind, and this is something that's super important, is really making sure that you do have some goal in mind. I see it a lot where people will launch an offer and, they want to fill spots. I'm doing air quotations if you are listening. And that's good and fine. But you can be much more strategic with how you are doing things if you put a goal attached to that. You are able to actually measure things and choose proper strategies and make sure that you are actually going to hit what you truly want out of this launch if you put a number to it. So I want you to think about what is that for you? It doesn't have to be 5K. It can be 5K. It can be 10K. It can be 2K. It does not matter. Okay. Don't get hung up on the number. Choose yours. But here's what I want you to think about when you are choosing this. So you look at the offer that you want to launch. What is the price of that offer? This is where the number becomes really important. And I think a lot of people skip this step because a lot of times, if you are thinking of a number that you want, you're just thinking about the number and you're thinking, oh my God, that would be amazing. Like, what if I could make this amount of money? What if I could get that 20K? What if I could get this? And that would be great. That would be amazing, right? Like, totally. But we have to think about, is that realistic? Because you don't want to throw out that number and it not even be something that you can actually hit with your offer at the price that it's at and at the capacity that you can take for that offer. So those are the two things that you have to think about when you are setting your goal. So what is the price of your offer right now? What is the capacity that you can take with that offer. So how many people can you bring into that offer and serve and give value to? Okay, this isn't just like how many people can I stuff in so that I can make money? That's not what we're doing. And the other thing that I really want you to think about in terms of capacity, this is not stuffing the offer either to hit a number and burn yourself out. Think about if you put, 5, 10, 20 people into whatever your offer is, how many hours does that mean that you are working to actually give them the service that you are saying you're going to provide? That's the other part of this. You really have to be aware of all of this and how it all fits together, because you don't want to be, either setting your goal at something that's unrealistic that you can't actually reach because the price and the capacity don't match and you're not going to be able to get to that, or you're, you know, increasing your capacity to a point where you're burning yourself out or you're not giving the service that you promised your clients. There's, you know, a few ways that that can go. So you really want to make sure that those things all align. Now, if it is not, if your price and the number of clients do not match, that's not going to allow you to hit your goal. You have a gap, right? Then it's looking at, how do we close the gap? How do we fix that? So there's a few things that you can do. Raise the price if that makes sense. This is not raising our price just so that we can hit the goal. Just, random, I just want to make that much, so I'm just going to charge this amount. It's really looking at, is your offer worth that? Are you providing value to match that price? And it is hard to value sometimes the services that you offer. It is a tough thing to figure out. But it really can't be based on just because you want to hit a certain amount of money. That does not make sense. It really does not make sense. So it's looking at, how much service are you giving these people, and does it make sense for you to charge that amount? If it does make sense for you to raise your prices, then that is one of the options that you have available. You can look at increasing your capacity. Again, if that makes sense. If it does make sense, then you can do that. But if we're getting to the point where you're going to go into burnout by doing that just to hit that goal, doesn't make sense, right? So then it's looking at, if those two things still aren't aligning, if that's still not getting you to your goal, then it's reassessing again and looking at, do you need to change your goal and your expectations of what you're going to make on this launch? Or do you need to look at, how the offer is structured so that you can provide more value and raise the price so that, it is something where you can restructure things and you can take on more clients in the offer and therefore make more money from it. There's a few things that you can do if you're really stuck on getting to a specific goal, right? But all of this depends on if it truly makes sense. All of it. So it's really asking yourself the question of, does this actually make sense? Because you may not want to rework your offer. If it is something that is really, really working well, don't fix something that's not broken. Okay? Don't fix it if it's not broken. Then you need to look at, readjusting your goal and thinking about maybe something else that you can be selling either at the same time or right on the back end of that launch if you want to, bump up your income right after it. So those are the things that you really want to be looking at in terms of getting to that 5K, the recurring revenue part. Now, I know I said recurring revenue. If you want recurring revenue, this sets you up for sustainability in your income, right? So that you're not having these months where you just have a bump in income, but then next month you're like, well, what the hell am I doing now? Because I don't have money coming in again. You're going to have to look at offers that go over multiple months and people are paying on payment plans, right? So it's going to have to be something that people are in for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, however long it makes sense for you. And then payment plans that are built into that. And that's how most people are paying. And at the end of the day, even though there is, like we all see that some people have paid in full and payment plan options, guess what? You don't have to actually offer a paid in full option. If you truly want to just have this set up to be making you recurring revenue, you can have just payment plans. It's up to you. One thing that I actually do, I don't know, I don't even know how to say this, but um, agree with, don't agree with, whatever. The whole thing of pricing out the offer and charging more for the payment plan, I don't actually do that. I understand a little bit why people do it. Yes, it charges you a little bit more in service fees, but at the same time, when someone pays in full, charges you a bigger service fee when they pay the flat fee in full. And then your service fees are smaller when they're paying multiple payments. So it really comes out to be the same in the end. What I usually do is just I round it up so that it's not a weird number, but otherwise it's essentially the same thing. Do you have to do that? No, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I really don't care, but just something to think about. That is how you can think about your goal in terms of setting up your launch. And the first thing that, we're going to go into after this is your lead magnet. This is something that is very important, whether you are doing the traditional launch style or you want to do like evergreen. If you hate launching, pretend I'm not saying launching, okay? Just pretend, take that word out of it. Some people don't like it. So just pretend I'm not saying that. You can think of it as promoting an offer, okay? The same thing applies. You're going to want something that is generating leads for you on repeat to feed into your offer. So that's what we are going to be talking about in the next one, part 2 of the mini series. And I hope this was helpful in order to get you thinking about how you really set it up, looking at what your goal is and kind of if it's actually realistic to hit that. And we're going to go into more of, the strategies and all of the things that you can do to actually put in place and take action on in order to hit that goal. But this is just looking at, is your goal realistic, and making sure that you have set one up that is realistic for you. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for part 2. And if you are on YouTube, make sure that you like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.